Welcome to Infinite Mind Potential, where we unlock the ancient secrets of the mind to transform your modern reality today. Imagine mastering a complex skill not in years, but in mere months, utilizing the forgotten wisdom of the ancient samurai. This is not a fantasy, but a documented psychological state known as Shoshin, or the concept of the beginner's mind. In our modern world, we are often overwhelmed by information. Yet we struggle to truly learn and retain new skills deeply. We chase after knowledge, reading books and watching tutorials, but often find ourselves stuck on a plateau of slow progress. The barrier is not your capacity to learn, but rather the invisible walls built by your own intelligence and ego. Let me tell you the story of Hiroshi, a brilliant scholar who thought he had already learned everything under the sun. Hiroshi was known across the land for his sharp intellect, having memorized the classics and defeated many in heated debates. However, Hiroshi sought to master the art of the sword, so he traveled to the dojo of the legendary Master Daichi. Master Daichi was not impressed by the scholar's reputation, seeing instead a mind that was cluttered and heavy with pride. Upon arrival, Hiroshi did not ask to be taught. Instead, he began to explain to the master his own theories. He spoke of strategy, of physics, and of the history of warfare, trying to prove he was already an expert. The master silently handed him a wooden sword. Hiroshi gripped it tight, his muscles tense, trying to force a perfect stance. He swung with all his might, but the movement was rigid and disconnected, causing him to stumble and fall foolishly. Instead of reflecting on his error, Hiroshi blamed the floor, the weight of the sword, and the humidity of the air. Master Daichi smiled gently and invited the frustrated scholar to sit for tea, seeking to teach him a different lesson. The atmosphere shifted from the violence of the dojo to the serenity of the tea ceremony, confusing the impatient scholar. The master began to pour the tea. Hiroshi watched the cup fill, waiting for the master to stop at the rim. But the master continued to pour. The tea rose to the very edge, trembling with surface tension, ready to spill over. Still, he poured. The tea overflowed, spilling over the table and soaking Hiroshi's robes. Yet the master did not stop. Hiroshi shouted in disbelief, asking the master if he was blind, screaming that the cup was full and could hold no more. The master looked at him calmly and said, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you the way of the sword unless you first empty your cup?" This is the core problem. Hiroshi sat in silence. For the first time, he understood that his intelligence was not an asset, but a heavy barrier. This ancient story illustrates the concept of Shoshin, which translates to beginner's mind, a state of openness and lack of preconceptions. Shoshin is the mind of a child. It is empty, ready to accept, devoid of the habits of the expert. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. This is the expert's paradox. When you think you know, your mind closes. You filter new information through old frameworks, missing the subtle nuances of reality. Hiroshi stayed at the temple. His first lesson was not sword fighting, but unlearning his need to be right and smart. It is a painful process to let go of the ego, to admit that, despite your status, you know nothing at all. But as Hiroshi emptied his cup, something miraculous began to happen. His mind became like a calm lake, reflecting everything clearly. Modern neuroscience supports this ancient wisdom. When we drop our ego, we bypass the brain's defensive mechanisms that block learning. The default mode network is active when we think about ourselves. It is the voice of the ego, constant and distracting. When you enter Shoshin, you quiet this network. You stop judging yourself and start absorbing information directly, like a sponge. Hiroshi picked up the sword again. He did not try to look like a samurai. He simply moved with the blade. His movement was fluid. Without the interference of his thinking mind, his body learned the mechanics of the strike instantly. This is the secret to unnaturally fast mastery. It is not about adding more effort, but removing the resistance of self. Hiroshi absorbed in months what took others years. He was no longer a scholar trying to be a warrior. He had become the activity itself. This creates a feedback loop, where errors are corrected immediately without emotional damage. This principle applies to everything: coding, painting, public speaking. The moment you think you are good, you stop growing. The trap of intelligence is that smart people build complex defenses to protect their ego from the pain of being a beginner. We fear looking stupid. We fear asking basic questions. This fear is the lid on the cup that prevents filling. To learn fast, you must embrace the foolishness of the beginner. You must be willing to be clumsy and incorrect. When Hiroshi fell now, he laughed. He saw the fall as data, not as a reflection of his personal worth. By removing the emotional weight of failure, the feedback loop shortens. Correction becomes automatic, and mastery becomes inevitable. Your brain is designed to learn. It is only yourself that gets in the way of this natural biological process. So how do we apply the samurai way of Shoshin in our chaotic, ego-driven modern lives effectively? Step 1 is to consciously empty your cup. Before learning anything, assume you know absolutely nothing about the subject. Even if you have experience, set it aside. Approach the task as if it is your very first time encountering it. Look at the tools and the problems with fresh eyes. Ask the simple questions that experts are too proud to ask. Step 2 is to become water. Be flexible. Do not cling to your methods if they are proven to be inefficient. Water does not argue with the rock. It flows around it. Adapt to the feedback you receive immediately, without resistance. When corrected, do not explain why you did it wrong. Just correct it. Explanations are just the ego defending itself. Step 3 is to maintain freshness. The danger returns when you start to get good. That is when the cup fills. You must constantly remind yourself that you are always a beginner. The master is simply a beginner who kept beginning. Even Master Daiichi practiced the basics every day. He knew that the moment he felt like a master, he would stagnate. Years later, Hiroshi became a master himself, but he never forgot the tea ceremony and the feeling of the wet robes. He taught not just technique, but the state of mind required to receive it. He kept his own cup always empty. Empty your cup. Become water. Maintain freshness. These are the keys to unlocking your infinite potential in any skill. Apply this to your life today. Pick a skill you have struggled with and approach it again with a child's eyes. Forget what you think you know. Drop the frustration of past failures. Start from zero and watch how fast you fly. True strength is not rigidity. It is the ability to absorb, adapt, and grow without the constraints of a fixed identity. Let your mind be that still lake. Let information drop in and ripple through you without being blocked by rocks of ego. The journey of mastery is not about reaching a destination where you know everything. It is about falling in love with learning. Let go of the need to be the expert. Let go of the fear of judgment. Embrace the power of emptiness. The universe of knowledge is infinite. Your cup is small. Do not fill it with yourself. Fill it with the universe. Are you ready to empty your cup? Are you ready to learn faster than you ever thought possible? The choice is yours. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this lesson, consider subscribing to continue your journey of mind expansion. But let us go deeper. Let us analyze the specific mechanics of why the ego destroys our ability to encode memory. The hippocampus is responsible for learning. Stress and ego defense trigger cortisol, which literally shuts down this crucial part of the brain. When you are afraid of looking stupid, your brain thinks it is under attack. It prioritizes survival over learning new skills. Hiroshi's early failure was biological. His body was fighting the lesson because his ego perceived the correction as a threat. By accepting his ignorance, he lowered his cortisol. He created a chemical environment in his brain optimized for rapid absorption. Shoshin also triggers dopamine. The joy of discovery replaces the fear of failure, making the learning process addictive and effortless. Remember the joy you felt as a child when you learned to ride a bike? You can reclaim that exact feeling. It requires you to drop the mask of the serious adult. Be playful, be curious, be willing to make noise. A clear mind is a conductive medium. A cluttered mind is resistant. Be the clear water, and the ink will spread. Mastery is not a possession. It is a flow. You cannot hold on to it. You can only step into the stream. The concept of mu, or nothingness, is central to samurai philosophy. It is not empty space. It is a space of potential. Create this space of potential within yourself. Every day, take a moment to breathe out your knowledge and breathe in curiosity. This is a practical exercise. Before a meeting, a class, or a practice session, take 3 deep breaths and reset. Sometimes, emptying the cup means unlearning. You must pour out the muddy water of bad habits to make room for clarity. Unlearning is harder than learning. It requires double the humility because you must admit you were wrong for a long time, but the reward is limitless. Once the bad habit is gone, you are free to build a foundation of true excellence. Build your skills on rock, not on sand. Shoshin ensures that your foundation is solid because you skipped no steps. Do not rush to the advanced techniques. The advanced techniques are just the basic techniques mastered and applied with speed. Hiroshi learned that a simple strike, performed with a perfect mind, is more powerful than 1,000 fancy tricks. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. The beginner's mind seeks the simple truth, while the ego seeks complex validation. Don't get lost in the maze of complexity. Cut through it with the sword of simplicity and honest observation. Find the core principle of what you are learning. Anchor yourself there. Everything else revolves around that central truth. Hiroshi taught his students to look inward. The sword is just an extension of the arm an extension of the mind. When the mind is clear, the connection is unbroken. The intention becomes the action without any lag or interference. This is the state of mushin, or no mind, which can only be achieved after embracing shoshin, or beginner's mind. Shoshin is the seed. Mushin is the flower. You cannot have the flower without first planting the seed in empty soil. Is your soil ready, or is it full of rocks and weeds? Tilling the soil is the work of humility. Weed out the thoughts that say, I can't, this is too hard, or I already know this. They choke your growth. Clear the space. Protect your beginner's mind fiercely. It is your most valuable asset on the path to greatness. Even in leadership, the best leaders are those who listen like beginners, valuing ideas from everywhere, regardless of hierarchy. When you create a culture of Shoshin, innovation explodes. Because no one is afraid to suggest something crazy or new. The greatest innovators in history kept their beginner's mind. They never accepted, that's just how it is, as an answer. Break the cage of convention. Ask why, like a 5-year-old. The answer might lead you to a breakthrough. Reclaim that fearless participation. Life is a classroom, and you are here to learn, not to prove you are perfect. Document your journey. Write down what you learn. It helps to solidify the empty cup mentality by acknowledging progress. Seeing your progress on paper reminds you that you are moving forward, even when it feels like you are standing still. Consistency beats intensity. The beginner's mind helps you stay consistent because you are not discouraged by lack of instant results. Patience is a weapon. The samurai knows that the sword is forged in fire and time, not in a single day. Fold your knowledge like steel, layer upon layer. Shoshin allows you to add new layers without rejecting the old ones. The result is a mind that is sharp, flexible, and unbreakable. A mind capable of mastering any skill unnaturally fast. It looks unnatural to others, but to you, it is simply the natural result of removing the unnatural obstacles. You have this potential within you right now. It is not reserved for the chosen few or the historically gifted. It is a human potential. It is your potential. All you need to do is make the choice to empty your cup. As Master Daichi would say, the tea is ready. But will you drink it, or will you let it spill? Respect the process, respect the teacher, and most importantly, respect the beginner within yourself. The world is vast. There is so much to learn. Do not waste another day trapped in the prison of knowing. Step out, Take action. Pick up that book, that instrument, that tool, and begin with a smile. Begin. That is the only command. Begin now, and begin again tomorrow, and the day after that. Conditions will never be perfect. You will never feel fully ready. That is why you must start before you are ready. The giant oak tree sleeps within the acorn. Your mastery sleeps within your willingness to be a beginner. We have come full circle. We return to the garden, but we see it with new eyes. This is Shoshin. Listen to the wind. It does not try to sound like the ocean. It is content to be the wind. Be yourself. Authenticity speeds up learning because you are not wasting energy on maintaining a false persona. Drop the mask. It is heavy and it blocks your vision. See the world nakedly and let it teach you. Knowledge is light, but you must open the windows of your mind to let it shine in. Share what you learn. Teaching is the highest form of learning. It forces you to clarify your own understanding. The cycle never ends. As you teach, you learn again. You see the subject from the student's perspective. Be humble enough to learn from those below you. Everyone knows something that you do not know. Wisdom is not age, it is openness. Do not let your years on earth close your mind to the new. As we approach the end of this video, take a moment to reflect on what you will do next. What is your sword? What is the skill you have been avoiding or struggling with? Identify it clearly now. Write it down. Commit to approaching it with Shoshin for just 1 week. See what happens. Give yourself 7 days of the empty cup. Suspend judgment. Just absorb. The results will surprise you. Hiroshi left the mountain a different man. Not because he knew more, but because he knew how to learn. He carried the temple within him. You can carry this mindset into your office, your home, and your relationships. The samurai way is not about swords. It is about the spirit. It is timeless and applicable to everyone. Keep your blade sharp, but keep it sheathed until needed. Keep your mind open, always ready to receive. Be the candle in the darkness of ignorance. Let your curiosity light the way for yourself and others. Humble, open, fresh. Repeat these words when you feel frustration rising. They are your mantra for mastery. Mastery is joy. If you are not enjoying the process of learning, you are doing it wrong. Find the play. Return to the playground of the mind. That is where the fastest learning happens. That is where geniuses are made. Serious faces do not create breakthroughs. Playful minds do. Allow yourself the freedom to explore without boundary. We are all students in this vast universe. No one is the master of everything. We are all beginners together. Let us walk this path together, support each other, remind each other to empty the cup when it gets full. I want to hear from you. Share your story in the comments. What will you master next? Join our community of infinite learners. Subscribe and hit the bell to never miss a lesson on potential. If you enjoyed this, you will love our video on the flow state, which is the next step after Shoshin. Thank you for spending your time with us. Time is the most precious resource, and you invested it wisely. Let the lessons settle like tea leaves. Do not rush to the next distraction. Sit with this for a moment. Breathe in, breathe out. Empty your cup, and prepare for whatever the world brings to you next. Until next time, keep your mind open, keep your spirit fresh, and always stay infinite, my friends. This is Infinite Mind Potential, signing off. Remember, the empty cup holds the most tea. Goodbye for now.